Hello and welcome to today's Delta Credit Tip. So you go to your bank because you decide you can't keep just doing cash transactions anymore, and your banker offers you a debit card, a credit card, a secured card, and a prepaid card. What's the difference between all these cards? Well, stay tuned. We're going to learn you on today's Delta Credit Tip. Hello and welcome back to today's Delta Credit Tip. I'm Michael Holmes from Delta Credit Restoration, bringing you yet more information to help you in your credit restoration process. Hopefully this information is helpful. If so, give it that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so that every Thursday, as we come out with more information to help you in your credit restoration process, you get it right out of the gate, right? So you go to your bank, right? And you go to open up an account, or you just can't keep doing cash transactions anymore, and they offer you all these different types of cards, right? There's a credit card, there's a debit card, there's a secured card, and there's a prepaid card. What is the difference between all these cards? All right. The reason why I want to go over this is because each one behaves very differently, and as you're starting to learn how to manage these accounts with your bank, you want to kind of know how it really works, and doing it at the bank can sometimes be a little bit intimidating or embarrassing. So hopefully this information can help you get through that angst and get you to understand the relationships a little bit better. So let's start with first dividing those four cards into two types. You've got depository, and then you've got credit driven. Okay, so the two depository cards are going to be your debit cards and your prepaid cards. The reason why they're deposit related is because it requires multiple deposits for you to be able to use these cards. So a debit card, okay, which, you know, when you go to the grocery store, you can run a debit card as a debit or a credit, right? And if you want more information on that, check out that video that we made about that. But a debit card is a card that you're going to get that takes money directly out of your checking account every time you swipe the card. Okay? So you have to deposit money into your bank account and then use the card to access it to make purchases, whether it's online or in the store or wherever. Okay? But you have to make a deposit repeatedly to make that happen, because as you spend the money in the checking account, you have to replenish that money to have money to spend. Right? Whether you use that debit card as a debit or credit, it's still a debit card. And the money still has to be present in your checking account for that transaction to work. Okay? Now, a prepaid card kind of operates on the same principle, except that there's no checking account. It's an account that's strictly held on that card. So you have to deposit money on the card. So you go from a zero balance to, let's say, $100 that you put on the card. You spend that $100 down to zero. Then you have to reload the card with yet more money. Just like in a checking account, right? If you have money in a checking account, you can use your debit card to use it all the way down to zero. And then you have to reload that checking account to have more money to access to then spend on that debit card. So a prepaid card and a debit card operate on the same principle. You deposit money, you spend your own money down to zero, you replenish the supply of cash, you can then go from that balance back down to zero, right? And you keep doing that over and over and over again, okay? Now let's switch over to the credit-driven cards. These are going to be your secured cards and your actual credit card. Now, a regular credit card has with it a limit. And that limit means that that creditor or that bank or whomever is willing to lend you up to that amount of money. Whatever that limit is on that card, that's the amount of money that you can borrow. So you're actually starting off with a zero balance, okay? And as you spend money on a credit card, your balance actually goes negative because you owe money. See, on a debit card, you're adding money to it, and so your balance goes above zero and you spend it down to zero. On a Credit card, you're borrowing the money. So let's say you go to your favorite store and you spend $100 on your credit card, you're going to go to a negative $100. And then you've got to pay it back up to zero. Okay? So you're borrowing it, paying it back. Borrowing, paying it back. But let's say your credit isn't so great and they don't trust to just give you money. So they're going to say, okay, I'll give you money, but you got to give me money first. So you're going to do typically a one-time deposit into an account with that lender. That lender is going to hold your cash as collateral, and then they're going to give you a credit line commensurate with whatever money that you gave them. So let's say you give them $500. They're going to take your $500 and they're going to hold it in an account that you don't have access to. Then they're going to give you a $500 credit card, but it's still a credit card. You still start at a zero balance and go negative and then pay it back and go negative and pay it back. The money that they're holding, you're not spending like you would on a prepaid card. On a prepaid card, you put the money on the card, spend it down to zero. Replenish the money, spend it down to zero. On a secured credit card, you're going to zero, you're going negative and bringing it back, and they're just holding your cash just in case you don't pay. So if you put $500 over here and you skip out on the bill when you're negative 100 over here, they're going to take 100 of your 5, pay themselves off, and send you the $400 back. All right? So a secured credit card is a credit card that's simply secured with your collateral being the cash that you gave them. But it's still borrowing money. Okay? It can still charge off. Right? You can still have late pays even though they have your money in hand because it's collateral and they're not supposed to touch it unless you default. So again, prepaid cards as well as your debit cards are money that you load onto your account and then spend. You're spending your own money. Secured credit cards and regular credit cards, you're borrowing somebody else's money and then paying them back to zero. Right? That's the difference between the two, the four, I should say. Hopefully this information helped. If so, give us that thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell, share with those people who you know are establishing new relationships with banks so that they can understand the difference too, right? And in the meantime, make a choice, make a change, Delta.